That makes absolute sense. I have another follow-up question there.
Yeah.
So the contractors use systems like Procore or
Mhm.
Autodesk, and Billy integrates with both.
Mhm.
Why is it not enough to just collect a certificate of insurance when you signed a contract in Procore and you get the certificate of insurance?
Awesome question. And frankly, while I've made a career out of this, I wish it was as simple as just collecting a cert. Bear with my sort of girly analogy for a moment, but I often say to folks, both owner and developers and contractors, that a certificate of insurance is sort of like when you're going shopping and you buy something, say a pair of shoes, and you get a receipt when you make that purchase. The receipt is completely different than the actual pair of shoes. The analogy here is the certificate of insurance, and the shoes are the insurance policy. You buy the insurance policy. That document could be 100 pages long, outlines the breadth, the depth of all the coverage that you purchased for an asset or a project or a portfolio, what's covered, but most importantly, what's not covered. Insurance policies are notorious for excluding a host of things. And so that perhaps 100-page document could outline all sorts of things that are covered and not. The certificate of insurance is probably only a page or two, and it's going to be a high-level summary like a receipt. It's going to say the name of who bought the policy, maybe the dates that the coverage is in place, some high-level summary like maybe the amount of millions of insurance that was purchased when it expires, but that's it. Does that make sense?
I love the analogy.
Okay.
Now, I can explain simply that getting a COI is getting a receipt, and you need the shoes that you're missing. But
Thing.
when we talk of these insurance documents and language, the shoes themselves,
Yeah.
what should the general contractors be looking for when they're reviewing those?
When they're reviewing. So that sort of brings me to the third component of this process. There's the actual policy you buy, the certificate, which is that 1 or 2 page summary. That's important. I don't want to sort of undermine the importance of the certificate or the receipt, if you will. But the third component is the contract agreement between the two parties. So, for example, if you're that owner developer building a building and you're contracting with a contractor, or if you're the GC on that same project, you might be contracting with 20, 30, 40 subcontractors. Each of those relationships should have a contract in place between the parties outlining the work that's going to be performed and, importantly, the insurance that's required on the job. And so those three things go together. There's policy, the certificate, and the contract outlining the roles and responsibilities. When it comes to reviewing the actual policies, I think the devil is in the detail. You need to look at, okay, what work is going to be performed? Let's quickly use a simple example of a painter in New York City. If you are hiring a painter to paint something on a New York City job and you collect their actual policy, you want to make sure that there are no coverage exclusions for New York City, that's where the work's taking place, and for painting, right? The actual work you're hiring the painter to perform. That's a really simple example, but your question about what should we be looking for, the answer is exclusions that pertain to the type of work that your party is going to perform, whether it's the state that the work takes place in, the type of work being performed. And the last thing I think that's commonly done incorrectly are entities, making sure that the exact company name that's performing the work is added to the policy correctly as an additional insured. That's sort of oversimplifying, but hopefully enough to gain some clarity for your audience.
Sarah, you're such a good teacher at teaching and simplifying very complex insurance terms that sometimes are a black box to many of our audiences as well.